Welcome to our podcast, Parenting by the Pint. Enjoy the show.
Greetings, Minivan Mafia. Lauren and I are longtime friends from Chicagoland that love getting together to chat about life, kids, family, and beer.
Each week, we'll feature a brewery and sample at least 2 of their beers.
We'll also discuss a variety of topics ranging from parenting, pop culture, travel, marriage, and just about anything else that comes to mind.
Hey, everybody, welcome back.
Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, we're going to continue on Kara's little road trip today to visit the in-laws and drink more stuff we picked, well, not we, you picked up in the central Illinois region. So we're going to drink White Oak Brewing today, which I have definitely never had. They are from Normal, Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get anything from Peoria proper. I will say that part of the reason for that is we have on occasion visited some breweries in Peoria on like previous visits, and I just had already tried some of that stuff, and when we went to the liquor store, we just grabbed things we had never heard of before. Really.
Makes sense. I mean? I'm good with that. Yeah. I mean, there's only a handful of breweries in Normal, and I've never had this one, so we're gonna
Me neither.
Give it a try. We're gonna drink Me Llama Llama. So
Me Llama Llama, got it.
I mean, I really like llamas, and this one has a mustache and a sombrero, so
he's pretty cool.
You can't go wrong with this. But so it's interesting because it says it's an English style mild ale, but it also has serious coffee roasters on the top of it. So I'm super intrigued what this is going to taste like. So
oh my gosh, be very careful when you pour it. I just like made a huge mess.
Okay, fantastic.
Well, my can was like filled to the tippy top here.
Same, and a bit foamy.
Yes, and then when I poured, it just like shot out of the can. So
it's got some coffee aroma to it.
Okay, I just immediately put it down because I didn't want to spill it all over myself.
Yeah, all over. I'm very intrigued by this.
It smells like an English mild. I've actually had a handful lately because my husband is very fascinated by that beer style, and so whenever it comes out, we end up getting a handful of different ones, and we're kind of in that time period. I think the English mild season.
Yeah. Well, in this, so they do. So this brewery has this one, and there's a blonde ale that I guess are like pretty much staples for them that they have most of the time. So I think this is one of the ones that is you can usually get at least from them, which is interesting because I feel like I haven't really had a lot of English milds maybe more lately, but like overall in my drinking of beers, it's not always something that breweries always have, it's not something that every brewery is making.
Definitely.
So this one is quite dark. If you hold it up.
Yeah, it is pretty dark. I mean, like I'm used to English milds being a little amber, auburn coloring, maybe. This is pretty brown, though.
It's quite dark, yeah.
Yeah, let's give it a try. Mine's finally drinkable.
The head's a little bit, yeah, it does. It's very foamy. I'll give it that.
I mean, it tastes like an English mild. It's got that malty but crisp like flavor to it. Not nearly as heavy as like a porter or a stout, which is great.
No, it's actually a very drinkable, light, dark but malty. I'm super intrigued by the coffee on the top, though. Like, I don't feel like it's not a coffee. It's not heavy on coffee. Like, I don't.
But you get coffee in the smell? I
did it at first, but I think that was the combination of the carbonation.
Yeah,
and
I was gonna say maybe when I had the head on the beer, I smelled a little bit of a hint of coffee, but now I'm not really getting that.
I'm not either. So that my first sniff, I guess, my
Mhm.
first smell of the aroma, I feel like maybe I got tricked, but like now I'm not. Now it just smells like a regular English mild. It tastes like very malty and whatnot, but I'm not. I don't know. Maybe they get the
You know,
malt from
take a
the.
couple more drinks because
Okay.
now that I've had a few sips, I feel like I get more of that like coffee feeling when I breathe out like through my nose, like the aftertaste, but more of like that, you know,
Hmm, okay.
more of that flavor.
Yeah.
And I get a little bit of the same flavor that I get from coffee.
Okay. Yeah. I'm
But
just
I
kind of
don't get that.
intrigued by it.
Yeah, I guess a little bit. I just poured a little bit more to get a little bit more of the head on there.
Hmm.
And I guess I get a little bit of that. I will be honest, if it wasn't printed on the can, I would have a hard time recognizing it. I don't know. I want to say maybe now that I've had a few
It's
sips,
got
but I don't
light
know.
notes of coffee, but I don't feel like it's a heavy coffee flavor. So
Right.
it's,
Yeah.
I definitely got more of the aroma when there was a big head on it
Yeah.
of the
Hmm.
coffee, I feel like. Now it's much milder of an aroma, and I get a little bit of hint of coffee, but
Yeah.
it's not strong, I guess I would say. Um,
Well, tell me about White Oak, Lauren.
yes, as I evaluate this coffee mild
Whatever.
English ale we're going with. All right, so White Oak Brewing. So they're in Normal. They're in a warehouse district in Normal, actually.
Okay.
I went to their website and it says MMXV on the top, and I was like, what in the heck is that? Well, they technically opened their tap room in 2017, so I'm guessing that that's why they have that because those are the Roman numerals for 2017. Um,
Okay.
which I wouldn't have normally thought of. But anyways, they have three owners, Brian, Scott, and Mark.
Okay.
How the this whole thing came to be was that Brian was working with his dad and him kind of started a home brewing shop, supply shop back in
Okay.
2011. It was called the Hop Shop.
Oh, I
Um,
like that.
yeah, which
That's a
is
good
cute.
name.
Right? And
Yeah.
so they had the hop shop, and he was also working at like Best Buy and State Farm and other miscellaneous jobs and
Okay.
spending time at the hop shop. And Scott and Mark independently were gifted homebrew kits for some birthday, holiday, whatever, but they weren't complete. They needed more stuff.
Okay.
They needed more supplies. So they went to Brian at the hop shop and
Okay.
bought whatever piece was missing from their homebrew kits, and that is how Brian, Scott, and Mark met, was from buying homebrew supplies at the hop shop.
Nice.
So Brian decided he didn't really want to work at State Farm anymore, and they actually started brewing at what was the Hop Shop in 2015. But at the time, in Normal, you could not serve or sell beer out of the place that they were producing. They had to actually serve it, sell it to local bars and restaurants.
Oh,
So
geez.
unless you had a restaurant license, you could not sell the beer you were producing.
Okay.
So they started making beer in 2015, and by 2017, they were able to actually open the tap room in the same location as where they're
Oh,
actually still at producing and brewing their beer. But it was a bit of a bit of a headache to get. I guess Brian has a law degree, which he wasn't using at State Farm. But he did kind of help move along some of the changes that allowed them to actually open the tap room and not have a restaurant. They don't serve food or anything, but to get the
okay.
laws changed so that they could sell their own beer out of their own facility. So now they have a tap room. They've expanded to have an outdoor area. They produce all in the same facility there. So they have about 10 beers on tap at any time. They say they want everyone to be able to find something they like. So they want to have a variety of different beers. They only have a handful of beers that they make all the time or rotationally. And then
Okay.
every 2 to 3 months, they also just make completely new experimental or different beers that you may see again or you may never see again. So they only can make about um 40 to 50 barrels a month. So they're
Oh,
definitely still a
okay.
small microbrewery. They're not making a ton, but they're making enough to distribute, obviously,
Yeah, I
mostly
was gonna
just in the
say.
central Illinois area, though. You're not going to
Yeah.
find it really
Okay.
outside of there. So you found it in Peoria, but you're really only going to
Right.
find it in Champaign and Normal, like that general
That
vicinity.
region.
Yes, they have
I was
not
gonna
made
say,
it very
I know
far.
there were other options when I picked up these two. So they definitely have at least, a
I think
selection that
they
they're
have like 5 or
distributing.
6 right now
Yeah.
that you could probably get. You can also get growlers at the tap
Okay.
room to
Sure.
go, but they really only distribute in a small area for right now. So if you're in the central Illinois area, then you'll be able to find it. You can also now visit their tap room and have some beers and have a flight and get a variety
Mm,
of different things. They've got some interesting named beers over time. They had one that was called Casual Jesus, which piqued my interest. I'm not sure if
that's
they've
is interesting.
brewed it recently. They made one called Brass Rail, which was actually in collaboration kind of with the Normal Fire Department for
Oh,
one of their anniversaries. It was an amber ale.
nice.
So that's kind of cool. So they definitely like doing some different things. And, it was interesting that their kind of two beers that they have all the time aren't your typical beers. A blonde ale, I mean, I guess, but then an English mild, that a lot of
Yeah.
places that's not your standard flagship beer.
No.
So they're definitely a little bit off the beaten path in terms of the type of beers they have. They're off the beaten path in terms of location. They're in the middle of a industrial park. So you have to want to get there.
You
Similar
have
to
to
a
know
lot of the
about them to
Yeah, similar
go.
to a lot of breweries up this
Yeah.
way though. There's a lot of places that are in industrial parks because that's the space that's available to them and it makes sense, the
Yeah.
big open space and whatnot. So, but they are in an industrial park. I think their address is actually like Industrial Boulevard or something like that.
Right. Of
But
course it is.
yeah, the name White Oak is not an interesting one. So, White Oak is just the name of the main road that industrial park road is off of. So
Oh.
White Oak
Yeah.
Road is just where they're at. So, and I
I
guess
guess
they
that's fine.
started with that name when they were thinking of ideas for the brewery and they were all like, "All right, don't get attached to it." But apparently they got attached to it and they wound up sticking with it and it's 5 years later, and they've still have the same name. So, or actually, I guess 7 years later from when they started brewing, 5 years since they opened the tap room, and they've kept the name going. So I guess it's stuck now.
That's cool.
So, yeah.
Well,
So
that's fine. I mean, names don't have to be fancy or ultra creative. I do enjoy that element though, when you get a little bit of that.
yeah, sometimes they're interesting, sometimes they're not. But, they wanted something that they also mentioned they didn't want anything associated with like their personal names. Like they weren't going to call it like Brian and Mark's Brewery or something like that. They wanted something that was
That's a good one. That should be
different.
what our brewery is called. It's Carol Lawrence
Karen
Place.
Lawrence. I like it. I like it. I'm cool with that. But yeah, so anyway, so cool, interesting. It's another of the limited breweries in the Normal Bloomington area. There's a couple of big ones that are nearby, but if you're driving through central Illinois, now we've got some options for breweries these
Yeah,
days.
Normal, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
I can think of a couple places in the Bloomington Normal
Yep,
area that
for
I would
sure.
happily go to.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
So, I guess Brian was he got an interview a few years ago. He was telling the story about like the day he realized he was never going back to work at State Farm and
Mm.
that he really wanted to be a brewer, I guess was Triptych's like couple year anniversary party or something, and he was supposed to be
Oh,
going to work at State Farm. And then one of the other guys that was part of the brewer, part of White Oak, was going to the Triptych party. And so he went to work and he was like, I'm sick, I have to go home. And his boss was like, You're sick? You're here. You look fine. He's like, No, I'm sick, I have to
right.
go home. And I guess he called the other guy and was like, I'm 12 minutes away, wait for me, I'm going to the party. and, and at that
That's
point, he was like,
perfect.
now I knew that was the moment I knew I was never going
This
back
was
to work
it.
there,
Yeah.
and this is what I wanted to do with my future. So yeah,
That's funny.
so
That's good. Hey, man, when you know, you got to make that move. You
yeah, for
know?
sure. I totally support it. And obviously it's working out okay.
Yeah.
So, it was a good decision, even though at the time it might have been a little up in the air, but it ended up being a good decision on his part. So, yeah.
Good. I'm
So
glad he made that
that's
choice.
White Oak. So if we're in the normal area, I'll have to go check
Yeah.
them out.
Yeah.
See what offerings they got. So, all right.
So, yeah. So, speaking of good decisions, I think we can agree that if you're a responsible parent and you're trying to raise responsible children who take care of themselves, you eventually reach the point where you take them to the dentist.
This is true.
And you
Yes.
encourage them to take care of their teeth. I will say, in terms of teeth, I have found myself saying the phrase, "You are stuck with these for the rest of your life," more often than I expected.
I also use the phrase, if you don't take care of them, they're going to fall out.
Yeah.
So I say
Yeah.
that, I believe I've said that this week actually. So
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I
mm,
don't know that we've had a lot of dental hygiene conversations in the recent past with my kids,
mhm.
but it's always like on the, just below the surface
Yeah, we're not
of
great at
something.
flossing in our household. We have to
I mean,
remind them of that
I'm not great about
also.
flossing, so
Yeah,
let's start there. But
fair, fair.
and I will start there and I'll talk about so yeah, so Lauren and I agreed that we were going to discuss like taking care of your teeth and our experiences with the dentist. And of course I always start with when I was growing up, what was
Mhm.
that? And I'm a classic scared of the dentist person. Like most people.
Mhm.
Um I'm still a little bit scared, although I got some confidence because I actually have pretty good teeth, which I believe is 100% genetics, by the
Yeah,
way. I don't think I'm doing anything extraordinary. I can go through my routine with you guys, and
it's
if
probably
something pops
pretty
out at you,
typical. Yeah.
but there is nothing, I don't use special toothpaste. I don't,
Mhm.
whatever. Anyway, so as a child, I hated going to the dentist. I
Mm.
hated it. My mom took me what felt like a lot. I was like, why do
Uh-huh.
we always go to the dentist all the time? And it was probably like once a year. Probably wasn't a lot, but it
Right.
felt like a
Yeah.
lot. I bit my hygienist a
Oh
lot.
no.
And she
Did
was
we go
super
to the same
nice. Yeah, we
dentist?
did.
We did. Okay.
Marsha. Yeah, my
Yes, I
hygienist
do.
was Marsha. Yeah.
Yep.
You had the same one. I remember that because she
Yep.
would mention you. Lauren didn't, she doesn't
It
bite
doesn't
me.
bite me.
And I'm like, well, she probably was too slow. Like,
And the
just
ironic
because,
part about this is that dentist wasn't in our town. It wasn't even close to our town.
yeah, how did we
Like,
find this
I
guy?
have no idea.
And I know that maybe it wasn't so much a thing when we were kids,
Mhm.
but he was not a dentist for children.
Not at all.
No,
Literally not at all. Yeah,
no.
no. So I don't
I
know how that.
specifically remember them being like, these x-ray tabs that we have are adult size,
Yes.
and them shoving them into my
Yep.
5-year-old mouth.
Exactly.
And that was
Yeah.
why I bit her.
Which, yeah, I get it. I get it. Yeah, we never went to a pediatric dentist. It was always the
No.
same one. That's who my parents went to, so that's just who
Yeah.
we went to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I always thought it was funny because I remember us having this conversation, like, at some point, and me being in my, like, kid head, like, why do we both go there? It takes
Why
a
do we
half an
both go
hour to
there?
get
Have you
there.
ever asked your parents,
No,
there's got to be,
I
is there a
didn't.
reason?
I
Is
should.
this a
I'm gonna
common
ask.
denominator for
I
us?
don't know.
Was he like connected to your parents and my parents in some fashion?
I mean, he was
And that
Italian,
person,
like, but I don't
yeah,
know. It was next to the
I'm
pawn
gonna
shop. Do you
ask,
remember the pawn shop? It was right
yeah,
next door.
I'm gonna ask my
Yeah, I'm
mom.
gonna ask too.
What? We're gonna have to
Anyways,
come back to this. I regret not
yes,
doing that before
we'll
we
revisit.
recorded, though. But
But all right,
because
anyways,
I
back
forgot
to the
that.
childhood that we actually
So
ironically did have the same dentist.
we had the same dentist.
I
I know
didn't
Lauren
bite
and I said have
Marcia,
such
but
weird overlaps.
it really is.
Um, my parents eventually made me get braces, which I also hated and I still
Same.
complain about, even though I respect as an adult the reasoning behind them getting me braces. I still
Mhm.
don't like appreciate it. Like my nephew is just got braces, I think, like over the summer, and he
Mhm.
and I share a birthday. So we have kind of like a little special connection as a
Yes,
result.
yes.
So I kind of talk to him like any
Mhm.
other person. For example, he's got a band concert coming up, and it just happens to be on our shared birthday. And I was like, do I have
Man,
to
your
go to
birthday's in
this
like a
band
week,
concert?
dude.
I know. Yeah.
Wow.
I know, right?
Time's
And I
flying
was
by.
like, do I have to go to this band concert? Because of the list of things that I want to do on my birthday, going to a high school band concert isn't really
On
like
it
on
anywhere.
it.
Yeah.
And he literally was like, I honestly don't care if you go. And I was like, if you say that and I
Awesome.
don't go, you don't get to be upset that I wasn't.
Correct. Yes.
And then we agreed that we were going to make happy birthday signs and hold them up, me in the
Mhm.
audience and him in the band. And at one point, this is the part where I just say it like it is to him.
Yeah.
I said to him, he was like, oh, I got to ask Mr. So-and-so, whatever the band director's name,
Mhm.
if that's okay. And I went, this isn't that kind of thing. You're
Yeah.
not going
No,
to
you
ask
don't.
for permission.
You
You're just
ask
going to
for you.
apologize later.
Correct. You ask for forgiveness, not permission. That's how this
Yeah.
works.
You're just going to do it. It
Mhm.
doesn't matter what he said.
Agreed.
And he
Totally
was
agreed.
just like, and my brother looked at me and he's like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, I want a birthday sign.
And there
That's
are
what's
some
wrong.
things you ask for forgiveness, not permission. Like I'm totally
What is
in
he
on
gonna do?
that.
Kick
Yeah.
him out of the band?
Right.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's not like it's gonna have a
Nah.
curse word on it. It's not gonna be inappropriate. It's just
Happy
gonna say happy birthday,
birthday.
Kara.
Love it. Love it.
Jeez.
Yeah. So he got braces.
So he got braces, and I said to him that I had braces and that I hated them and thought they were a complete waste of time. And
Hmm.
he was just like, wait, you like have an opinion on this? And I was like, yeah, I have an opinion on it. Did your parents ask you if you wanted braces? And he was just like, no. And I was
Yeah.
like, well, that's stupid.
They just told me I needed them.
Again, my brother is standing there looking at me like, what are you doing? And I'm just like, I'm telling it like it is, man. As I got older and got the dumb braces off, it was learned at some point, I don't remember when, that I have a little bit of an underbite. So my lower jaw is a little bit longer than my upper jaw, and my teeth basically meet rather than my top teeth overlapping my bottom.
Yeah.
And so there was like a time where they were like, oh, you should have surgery to fix that. But the surgery is like, they like take a piece of your jaw out and then smush it back.
I'm out on that.
And it's major surgery that also requires getting braces back on for 2 years. And this was all discussed like while I was a college student. So there was absolutely no way I was going to do it. Like,
yeah,
no way.
No.
So I was like, well, I live shorter. Well, I have a shorter lifespan if I don't do this. And the guy, the oral surgeon, he literally was like, no. And I was like, okay, well, it was nice talking to you. I'm going to leave now.
I'm done now. But
I'm an adult, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
I never did. But I will say there has been one consequence, which is very recent. It was actually just my last dentist appointment.
Oh.
I went to get, I have perfect teeth in the sense that I have never had a cavity or any dental work of any kind, other than I did go a very long period of time without going to the dentist, and had to get like an extremely thorough cleaning at one point. Other than that, even after that, nothing.
Wow.
Teeth have been fine.
That's totally genetics, I swear.
I know it is. It really is, because my poor sweet angel children do not have my teeth. They have my husband's teeth. And they do a better job. They do a good job taking care of their teeth. And
but they still get cavities. Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get to that. But I went to the dentist and they did x-rays and they discovered that I have a tooth, one of my front bottom teeth has suffered some trauma. That is what they said to me, and may require a root canal because the nerve is like dying as a result. And they were like, are you in like immense pain? And I was like, no, it doesn't hurt at all. And so they were like, oh, well, it's not a rush, but you should probably get a root canal. And I just decided not to.
When you are in pain, you will reevaluate.
Yeah, maybe. And funny story, my mom goes to a different dentist, and because she talks about me everywhere she goes,
of course,
she told her dentist this story, and he was like, in all of my years of dentistry, I have never recommended that somebody get a root canal because of trauma. He's like, people get root canals because they have a hole in their tooth, like,
or it's causing them problems. Like I can't eat because this is
Yeah.
painful or
She
something.
was like,
Yeah.
get a second opinion. I have
Alright.
never referred somebody for a root
And you
canal
were
for
like,
that
well, I
reason.
wasn't gonna do it anyway, so
And
it's
I'm
fine.
like,
Yeah.
well, there you go. I got my
Yeah.
second opinion.
There
Dude
you
said
go.
bad idea, so
Yeah,
no
so
root
we're good.
canal.
I also
Yes.
had braces as a child. I still remember the stupid metal wires and switching out the like colors depending on, different things on
Yeah, and the
those.
pain that you felt after
Yeah,
they
it
would
was it
rewire
it
you.
wasn't great. I didn't enjoy it. My mouth was too small for my teeth, so I had to actually have some adult teeth removed before they could
Oof.
even. So nowadays they'll put expanders in
Oh
for kids,
yeah,
like which we have to start paying attention to that stuff like way early, so
I
that
know.
before you
My
even have all
nephew,
your, you
yeah,
know,
on the other side has expanders in his
yeah.
mouth right now. And
Yeah, I
he's
probably should have
10.
had that as a child, but
Yeah.
instead they just waited and pulled out a bunch of teeth
Jeez.
and put braces on, because my teeth are too big for my little mouth. So,
Oh,
but the other negative to that is that as an adult, my teeth continued to kind of shift, and because my teeth are still too big for my mouth, I will always have one tooth that is slightly crooked. You would never notice it in a
right.
picture, you would never notice it, but I notice it because it's just slightly like
It just like
turned to
it's turned a
exactly,
little to
just
fit in. Like
exactly. Yes.
I
And
get it.
it's minuscule, but I can tell. And I'm like,
Of
I wore
course.
these stupid braces
I
and
know. Why are my
my
teeth not
teeth are
perfect?
still not straight.
Yeah. My
And but
bottom
I
teeth are not perfect. And
yeah.
I think it's because of the lower jaw,
Hmm.
because of the way my teeth hit each other. I think that
Oh,
I think I've
over
pushed my
time.
lower teeth a little bit
Yeah, probably
and
from
they've
your bite.
moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so years ago, like probably in college, when I went to the dentist, I was like, "Can you do anything?" And they were like, "We can, but then another tooth is just going to do the same thing. So no
Right.
matter what, one of your
Jeez.
teeth will be slightly crooked regardless." And I
Oh
was
my
like, "Well, then
goodness.
screw it. It's not even worth it." Like,
Yeah, let it be this one, I
so
guess.
yeah, so it is what it is, but it does slightly annoy me that even after braces, my teeth are still not straight. Now, my mother was 50 when she got well, she got
Oh my
Invisalign,
goodness.
but she
Okay.
didn't do it until she was 50 years
Oh,
old. Like
that's
at
interesting.
50, she like had a midlife crisis. Not really crisis, but she got her ears pierced for the first time
Oh
ever.
my
She
goodness.
got Invisalign. Like she was
Oh my
50 years
goodness.
old, and so now her teeth are very nice. But they
That's
were
awesome.
crooked. But when she was a kid, she never got braces as a kid. I
Yeah,
mean,
sure.
she's 70 or gonna be 70, so
Right.
like, it's
Just wasn't
it
happening
wasn't
at that point.
as prominent back
Yeah.
then to do it unless it was like a real necessity.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, and even some kids our age, I feel like didn't do it because I run into people and I'm like, your teeth are crooked, which is
I
something
know,
I
right?
notice now, like in people, which I'm not judging, but I'm kind of judging. But like I notice people's smiles, so like I
Sure.
notice if people have like a really big snaggletooth or like
Yeah, right.
something is off in there.
Yeah.
I don't care, but it's definitely something that my eye is drawn to, which
Yeah.
is interesting. But also now I'm watching my kids' teeth going, you're gonna need braces.
Yeah,
Crap.
my kids both need braces. I'm gonna get to that in 2 seconds, but you
Okay.
said something that jumped out at me about noticing your tooth being just a smidge off.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a tooth that had like this little tiny, what I thought was a stain on it.
Oh, okay.
And it really bugged me. And at one point I went to the dentist and I was like, you gotta,
Do something
what's
with this.
happening
Yeah.
here? What's wrong?
Hmm.
And they look at it and realize it was leftover glue from my braces.
Oh my gosh.
This was like, dude, this was
Years
like 3 years
later.
ago.
Oh
This
my
was like,
God.
it had been on my teeth for like 25
Holy
years.
crap. I
Yeah.
mean, that stuff sticks forever, I guess.
Yeah. And
Like,
I was like, that's so crazy because you couldn't feel
wow.
anything. It's not like I felt the tooth and there
Sure,
was
it
like a
wasn't
bump or
rough and you
something
couldn't
like,
tell. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Wow.
I was, but yeah, they just
Oh,
like scraped it off and now it's gone. And I was like, well,
oh.
thank God that was such an easy fix.
Yeah, right. Well,
Just
that worked out.
It just took me
It's
20
crazy
years.
but it's crazy also that nobody ever said anything. Like they're all up in your business in your mouth. Like how did nobody
know.
like
Do you know how
go
many
to be
times I
like,
went to
hey,
the
this
dentist
thing.
after I got my braces off? And you know
Right,
what's funny
exactly.
is that I didn't really notice it. Well, no, I kind of noticed it. I
Mhm.
didn't think it was noticeable.
Mm.
And then my nephew, the same one that shares a birthday with me, every once in a while would be like, "Why is one of your teeth kind of yellow?" And
You're like,
I
thanks,
was just
kid.
like, "How
Thanks, kid.
good is your eyesight?" Like,
Right? Yeah.
and he was, he was right.
Yeah, that's that. But again, how did the dentist not? They're
Yeah,
they're looking. They're
what are they
looking so
looking at,
closely
man?
at
They're
your
just supposed to
teeth,
be looking at my teeth.
right? Like, how did they not notice that in
I
20
don't
years?
know, man. I don't
Anyways,
know.
all
That's
right. Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
yeah. But
Anyway, so my
yes.
kids. So
Hmm.
my husband and I are not amazing about taking them to the dentist consistently.
Mm.
And I think a big part of it, I know a big part of it is that we don't like our dentist.
Oh,
The
okay.
same dude who suggested that I get a root canal, he's I don't want to say that
Oh.
he's like kind of a money grabber. Like
Hmm.
I just get the vibe that it's all about like the extra, like the income producing dental work that
Hmm.
they can get out of you.
Sure, sure, sure.
Like I'm not in pain and there's no noticeable issue with my tooth.
Right. So why
And
why are you even
why
suggesting to
would I
spend a
get work
crap load of
done?
money too?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that feels questionable. I will
And
say that my children go to a pediatric dentist, so they don't go
yeah,
to
we
the
do
same
too. Well,
dentist as
my
us.
kids, I mean, in the same office, my kids
Oh,
go to
okay.
a pediatric
Ours is
dentist. So not
totally
literally the
separate.
same. Okay.
Yeah, ours is like one is in Plainfield and one
Mm.
is in Lamont. Like they're
Oh,
like
wow.
completely the dentist that the kids go to is only a pediatric dentist
Okay.
office. They don't do anything else. So we're
Mm.
great about getting them in every 6 months. I haven't been to the dentist in like 2 years. So
Yeah.
it's not, which I know I need to, but nothing
You're not
hurts.
going to
So
get
I'm
grief from
kind of
me,
like,
dude.
yeah. So I'm really good about keeping the kids going, really bad about doing it for myself.
Yeah.
So, and maybe if they
Yeah.
were in the same office, I would just make all the appointments together. But since they're not,
I could
just,
see the
yeah.
benefit of that, which we have
Hmm.
had as an advantage to all be in the same office.
Yeah.
There was a period where we were really good about the kids, and
Hmm.
then I think we got frustrated with them because they kept suggesting things. My
Yeah.
little one, who's almost 9, had
Hmm.
a couple of cavities that they
Hmm.
found, and they wanted us to get them all filled. And
Hmm.
of course, they're in baby teeth. Okay,
Right.
so let's start there. And I know,
Yeah.
like when we were kids, if a baby tooth had a cavity, you just ignored it
Or
until
you
it fell
pull
out.
it depending on how close it
Yeah,
was to getting pulled. But yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Now they fill baby teeth,
Yep. Oh yeah.
and we were just sort of like, I guess so. And he did really well. We filled a couple. He has like,
Hmm.
I think he had one more and we had 2 filled. So he
Okay.
had 3 total.
Yeah.
But I will say, to be fair, we took him to the dentist at a semi-reasonable age, and we
Hmm.
can agree what that age is if you want.
Sure.
But they had a really hard time doing x-rays on him for a long time.
Mm,
So he didn't really get they didn't get a good look at his teeth for a while.
until a
So
while, yeah.
to have had a couple cavities is not like completely shocking, in
Yeah.
my opinion,
No.
especially like I said, when he was not blessed with my unusually
Yes.
sound teeth.
Oh, we'll blame your
um
husband. Yeah.
Yeah. And my husband, I mean, another person who I believe is very good about taking care of his teeth that just has bad luck
Yeah.
with teeth.
Yeah.
Like, and
I
his
really do
parents
think a lot of
are
that
in the
is
same boat. I mean,
genetics.
his
Yeah.
parents are the same way. I mean, like his mom, it's like every time I talk to her on the phone, I was like, "What'd you do this week?" And she's like, "Oh, I had dental work done."
Oh, jeez.
And I'm
That
just
sounds
like,
horrible, though.
I never have done like, so that's another thing that I
Yeah.
think puts me at a bit of a disadvantage, is that I find the whole thing very alarming. Like when they
Hmm.
were like, "Oh, your 8-year-old needs to have a cavity filled," I was just like, "What? A cat? Why is
No.
there a hole in his tooth? That's a
Yeah.
young tooth." And they're just
Yeah,
like, it happens.
it
And
happens.
you're just
Yeah, it
like,
totally happens.
okay, I guess. And I'm like crying, and he's just like, why are you crying?
Yeah, you're like, it'll be fine. We're fine. Yeah,
I
yeah.
have a hard time taking my kids to the dentist, personally.
Mm,
And you and I have spoken about this before, the whole like you don't go back there with them.
yeah.
And I did the first time I took them to the dentist,
Hmm.
and was very bothered by the experience. Like I
Oh,
sat in the
okay.
chair and I like watched them stick their hands in my son's mouth,
Yep.
and it like really freaked me out. Like
Oh,
bothered me. And so
watching that
eventually, yeah,
was
so
not
then I was
comfortable. Yeah.
like, I don't want to go do this anymore. And I kind of put it on my husband,
Hmm.
which I hope he would agree. I very rarely do that. I'm
Sure.
pretty
You
like
take them to a lot of,
consistent. I mean,
yeah.
I do pediatrician. I took him for flu shots.
Hmm.
Um, I've done probably the majority of like parent teacher conferences and stuff like that. And not because
Yeah.
I'm a control freak and I need to, just
Well,
because
sometimes the
I'm
schedules just work
willing and able.
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And
Totally get it.
but this one thing I just cannot do the dentist. I just nope.
That's
Um
totally reasonable.
I
Yeah.
also don't want to rub off on my kids because I still have a little bit of like a general fear.
And you don't want them to be
I
afraid,
don't
which
want
makes
them to be afraid.
sense.
I don't
Yeah.
think they are. My little one
Yeah.
isn't. Actually, I will say that getting a cavity filled probably did a lot of good for him
Okay.
because he has like very little concern whatsoever for going to the dentist. He's
Well,
just
that's
like,
good.
whatever, it's fine.
Yeah. I will say the twins are totally fine. So the first time we took them to the dentist, we went back with them because they were like 3.
Oh,
So like
that's cool. Yeah.
they were young. And then after that, they were like they pretty much typically the pediatric dentist takes the kids back by themselves after the first time, and they'll
Okay.
explain. They're like, honestly, usually the parents are more nervous than the kids, which makes the kids more nervous, which
Right.
makes things harder. And I'm like, if it's cool, if the kids are fine, then they can go.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not
Yeah.
worried. I don't
I'll sit
have
here
to
and read
be
my
there.
book.
Like, yeah, I don't need to be back there. My oldest was fine at first and then started struggling with the dentist. So he
Okay.
actually gets laughing gas now when he
Hmm.
goes for anything, even just a cleaning, and is generally pretty good.
Okay.
I needed to go back there when he was getting a tooth pulled, I think, which
Okay.
was
Well,
fine because yeah, it is what it is. And then he needed like 4 cavities filled like a couple years ago, and they were all on completely opposite sides of his mouth.
of course. So you had to go
And
like 3, 4 times, right?
no,
Like,
so with special needs kids, they put them under general
oh,
anesthesia,
okay.
and to do it all at once so they don't have Novocaine, so their mouth isn't numb when they come out of it, so they can eat
Okay.
right away. But they actually do put them out, like,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
So a lot of times for special needs dentists, they have to go to an actual hospital to do any kind of dental
Oh,
work.
yeah.
Our dentist handles enough special needs kids that they have a dental anesthetist that comes just into the dental's office. So we didn't have
Oh,
to go to the
that's nice.
hospital. We didn't have to go anyplace, out of the ordinary. We just went to the regular dentist and they came there to handle it. So
Okay.
knock on wood, he's been good since, but it's a struggle he's the one that I'm like, if you don't take care of your teeth, they're gonna fall out. Like, let me
Yeah.
floss your stupid teeth. Um, the,
Right.
so he's been much better about it. But the thing with him, so he cannot stand having any loose teeth. So he's
Oh,
10 and he lost a tooth like 2 weeks ago. And he was driving home from therapy with my dad and he was complaining. He said, tooth loose, tooth loose. And I had not noticed any of his teeth were loose at all prior
sure.
to this. And so I look and I'm like, oh, it's loose. And we went to go like pick something up from the store and we get back home and we get out of the car and he hands me his tooth and he goes, tooth. And he had just pulled it out.
Oh my
Like,
goodness.
went from being totally not loose at all to kind of loose to he just literally pulled it right out of his mouth and
Oh
handed it to me.
my
But
goodness.
I like freak out when he does that because I'm like, was his tooth supposed to be loose what teeth do they lose at this
Right?
age? Like, I'm Googling, like, what
Yes.
age do you lose what teeth? Because I'm like, crap,
Yes.
did he just pull a tooth out that wasn't supposed to come
I
out?
did that with my 8-year-old because
Yeah.
he lost like not, the two front teeth. He lost
Yeah.
one of the
Like
side
the
teeth.
inside, yeah, the
And
canines
I
are inside.
honestly
Yeah.
could not remember if he had already lost that
Right?
tooth. I was
Yeah.
like, when did they lose that one? That seems like one you would lose really early.
Right away,
And my
right?
kids
Yeah.
have both been like kind of on the tail end of every like
Mhm.
when you're supposed to quote unquote lose a tooth, they'll say like,
Sure.
oh, between 8 and 9 or 8
Sure.
and 10 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're always like right at the end of that period
Mhm.
that they're
Sure.
losing that tooth.
Yeah.
And so he's like, this tooth is loose. And I go, don't wiggle it.
To nothing.
Let me Google it first.
Yeah.
I need to figure out if you're supposed to
If
lose
you're
that tooth.
right. I
And then-
literally did this like
Yeah,
2
and it
weeks
was
ago.
like this was
Yeah.
like 2 months ago for me because he lost. This is the crazy part too, is that I Google it
Mhm.
and he's almost 9. I Google it
Mhm.
and it says kids lose this tooth around 7 or 8 years old. And so I'm kind of like,
Crap. I don't know.
that's pretty vague, man.
Did
he
you
already-
lose it? And did
and
you hit it? And now
And then
you're
I'm
losing
going
the
back
adult
through my
tooth. Yeah.
photos to see if there's a time where that tooth is missing. And
And your
it's like,
pictures. Yeah. Who
yeah.
knows?
I'm like,
Yeah.
how am I going to figure? And then, so finally the tooth falls out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And okay. And then the new tooth
Is already like
not
coming
coming.
through.
No, it's
Oh,
not
it's
coming.
not?
It's
Oh,
been
no.
gone for like a month and no new tooth. And I am starting to panic. I am just like, this is a serious tooth, man.
Yeah.
This is the front.
This is an important
top.
tooth.
This one can't
Yeah.
be missing your whole life.
No.
It has finally started poking through. He has been missing. There has been a hole in his mouth for like a month
Oh man.
with nothing in it.
Yeah.
And I was just like, every day is a new adventure.
Right.
What is
Yeah.
going to happen?
Yeah. What's today? But yeah, I literally like every time now that they lose a tooth, I'm like, is
Wait,
it
you're
supposed to? Or is this an adult tooth? Did you
Right.
run into something and now it's loose? I'm like, oh my God.
And my little one, not so much, but
Mhm.
my older son has a bit of that, like what your oldest has, where
Yeah.
he'll kind of start to, like, he gets into little, like, I don't, like, he was cracking his knuckles for a
They're
while.
almost like
and he would just do
OCD,
it,
like
all the time.
obsessive.
Little
Yeah.
ticks,
Like,
little
yeah,
things.
for sure.
And,
Yep.
and it's funny because like I'll actually forget that he ever does that, and then he'll do something for like a month nonstop, and I'm just like, what are you doing? Stop doing that. Like, he used to chew on his shirt.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. Yeah.
And I honestly don't remember a time when he didn't do that, but he's not
And then he
currently
just
doing
stopped.
it.
Yeah.
And I don't remember when he stopped doing it because it just like
It just stops one day. Yeah.
but like, so then he was like cracking his knuckles. But he's got the type of personality that if a tooth felt loose to him,
he would just
would
wiggle
just
it
start
until
working
it
on
came
it.
out. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so every once in a while he'll be like, oh, this tooth is a little bit loose. And he's older.
Right.
So I'm kind of like,
know.
how many do we have left?
That's what I'm thinking about my 10-year-old. I'm like, crap, like how many teeth are you still like how
Yeah.
many baby teeth do you even still have? But every time I'm like, is it supposed to come out?
Yep.
Is it not supposed to come out? Like
I just
yeah.
figure if it's further back with my older son, it's probably supposed to come out.
Probably. That's fair.
He
But
did
yeah.
have 2 that came out that were further back teeth that had cavities in them. Like I could see them.
Oh.
I just like held up the tooth after he pulled it out and gave it to me, and I was like, look at this. You can see through this tooth.
Yeah.
And he was just like, it's not that big. And I'm like, I can see it.
Yeah, then it's big. Yeah.
With my naked eye.
I don't even need any special
Big.
tools to see this. Yeah. So so we're there. I don't so we're talked about their current age, like teething was the worst, like when they were babies. Like I know I've blocked part of that out at this point in my life because we're so far removed, but like every few months I feel like they were getting a new tooth and they were just the devil children. Like they were just horrible.
And do you recall that like when you would get new teeth as a baby, you would also get like runny nose?
Oh yeah.
Like you would, so your baby would look sick you
Right.
would think your baby was
Like,
sick
every
while they
few
were
months.
getting teeth. And so
Yes.
it wasn't just that they were like in pain. I mean, like we had those like refrigerator things where it was like the little like ice pack that had like the balls in it or whatever,
Oh
so they
yeah, we
could
would just
chew
put
on it.
whiskey on their gums. It was
Oh
fine.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
brilliant.
it was fine. That's what
We
our
had like that.
grandparents did. They
Remember
had a
the
little
squeaky
Crown Royal
giraffe?
bottle. Oh yeah, everybody
Everybody
I
had
feel
that
like had that
giraffe.
thing. Yeah.
Sophie. She was
Sophie
had a
the
name.
giraffe. Yes.
Sophie the
Yes.
giraffe.
We
We
totally
had
had the giraffe.
Sophie. Sophie
Hmm.
was around for a really long time and
Hmm.
did a lot of good. Sophie
Yeah.
is essentially a chew toy that you would give to a dog.
Literally, a dog probably would like it just as much as a kid. Like,
Yeah.
honestly.
But Sophie was great. Like no
Yeah.
complaints,
No,
no
we
judgment at
definitely
all
had
about that.
that.
Sophie was great.
Yeah, no, we definitely had that. But yeah, no,
Yeah.
we went back to the old school. I'm just gonna grab some whiskey and throw it on your gums because
Yeah.
my husband always said his grandma had literally a baby bottle of Crown Royal in their medicine cabinet, and that was only for the children. That was not to be drank.
That was
It was
medicine for the
only for the
kids.
children.
That's so
So it was for
funny.
the teething children, and I was like, you know what? If it works, fine, let's try it. And I
I
was like,
mean,
it makes
sure, right?
sense. It numbs your gums. So like it worked. It worked for
Yeah.
us.
I mean, as long as
So
it like takes the edge off, I'm not complaining.
yeah. But yeah, Sophie was definitely a staple in our
Hmm.
household. But I do feel like I felt like every time we got past that, it was very short-lived before we went back to it.
Yeah,
So
that was true. I agree with that. Yeah, and I think I've actually blanked a lot of it out because I
oh yeah,
like
I
when you mentioned you
definitely
were like, "Oh, teething," and I was just like, "What?"
yeah.
Oh,
No, I
right.
definitely blocked much of that out, but I feel like it needs to at least have an honorable mention.
Sure.
So it was a rough
Definitely. Yeah, you're right.
period
Yeah,
for all of
totally.
us. So yeah, I know I'm gonna have to start thinking about braces and things like that in a
Yes.
very short window of time for these children, unfortunately.
Yeah,
So
we're definitely on the cusp of that, especially with my oldest. And like I said, we kind of have had a little bit of a break from the dentist with the kids.
mhm.
It's been less than a year, but it's
Yeah,
probably been like I don't know, 8 or 9 months. And
sure.
so they're definitely
Yep.
due to go back. I think probably after the holidays we will make the effort to find a new place to
That's
go,
a
and that's
good
the
call.
big
Yeah.
holdup for us.
Hmm.
Um but I know that we're getting to that point where pretty soon they're going to start talking about my oldest getting
Hmm.
braces. And, it is what it is. I mean, we'll
Yeah.
deal with that and we'll
My
cross that bridge.
one of my best friend's daughters just got braces.
Oh, yeah.
So Barb's daughter just got braces. She's only
Wow.
9, so she'll be
Wow.
10 next month. But they go in 2 phases now, I guess. So she
Okay.
got an expander first because, like me, she must
Yeah.
need a bigger mouth. And then she got braces put on, and then I don't know what the next phase is, but yeah, she already started. So, which
Jeez.
is
That's
kind of
crazy.
crazy, but I am assuming my children will also need them based on the look of their teeth.
Yes.
So,
I can
yeah.
see it for sure with my oldest and probably for sure with my youngest. I guess the only reason I would say maybe I don't know yet is because we
Mm,
are still a little early on some of his teeth falling out,
sure, sure, sure.
So,
Yeah.
but he does have, it's funny when you look at him, his
Hmm.
two front teeth, they just look massive in his mouth. So I
Oh,
assume he does have a small mouth,
yeah.
and that's what I'm seeing because I
Like,
don't think that
yeah.
they're like
They're
unusually large.
It's
I think they
probably
just look big in his mouth.
proportionally. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. That's how mine was. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, let's drink this second beer. Fuzzy
Let's
little man
drink.
Peach. He's got a nice smile going on in this
Yeah, he does. His teeth
in
look
this.
nice and straight. No stains
Yeah,
on
yep,
these
yep, yep.
teeth. They seem to line up nicely. I
They
will say one
appear.
other thing,
Yes.
and this is true for all of us, my kids and
Hmm.
myself. I wish I drank a little bit more water after you eat like sweets or something like that,
Oh, yeah. That's probably a
because
habit
that
that I
would,
feel like we all could take on better to
yeah,
rinse
because
out everything going on and yeah.
that would like that was actually something that the dentist did say was,
Mm.
if you're gonna eat, candy or whatever or something, drink a little bit of water after just to rinse it off of your mouth, because that gets
Makes sense.
then sugar
And it
doesn't just
sits
sit on your
there.
teeth.
Yep, I can totally understand that. That makes sense.
Man, these cans are super full. Did you notice when you
Yes,
poured yours?
very. Yeah, I want to have teeth like fuzzy little man Peach over here.
Yeah,
We're
let's
drinking an
go for
American
that.
haze ale with peach and apricot. So I looked at this can and I was like, all right, this has to be from something because it's a specific like caricature
Right?
of this dude. And I was like, I
Right?
have no idea what this is. So I Googled fuzzy little man Peach, and
Uh-huh.
apparently it is something from a British comedy series called The Mighty Boosh.
Oh, I
Uh,
know that. I know
and
that.
old Greg is this guy. And apparently it was some sort of term of endearment, or reference or something. But I've never seen the show, I've never heard of the show. So I had no clue or
Okay.
context as to what this was, but it's from The Mighty Boosh. So,
Well, now I have to go check that out.
yes. But
Well,
I'm
let's
gonna.
drink it. It smells good.
Mhm. It does smell good. It smells like an IPA. American Haze Ale. Not hazy, American Haze
Well,
Ale.
and I can smell peach
Definitely peach.
on it.
I actually
I
get a
get
little apricot.
it's funny because I literally said
Hmm.
peach and then I looked at the can again and I went, no, wait, that's apricot. Like I was like
Yeah,
forgetting that it
I
had apricot in it
definitely
too.
get the apricot,
Yeah, it is apricot.
right?
And
Yeah, it was just
yeah,
interesting because that's not necessarily a flavor that you always get in beer. Like peach, I feel
no.
like they've got a plethora of peach beers that we've had
Yeah,
a
totally.
number of them. But apricot is an underappreciated fruit, I feel like, that
Mm-hmm.
actually lends itself pretty well to beer because it's not overly sweet. It's got a good kind of, it's got a little bit of sweetness, but also a little bit of earthiness. Like
I
it's
was
a
just about to say
nice
earthiness.
flavor. Yeah.
Same word. Yeah, I was gonna say that's how I realized my mistake when I said peach. I was like, it's a little earthy for peach. And then I
Right?
looked over and I'm like,
Yeah.
apricot. That's
It's
why.
totally
Because it's
apricot.
not.
No, it's not, it's got a good, the apricot I feel like is a really good addition to it, but
Totally.
it's got a good aroma to it. I really actually enjoy this flavor. I kind of like it a
Yeah,
lot.
this is good.
Hmm.
This was a good one.
The Mighty Boosh. It's
Well,
a
and I like both of
solid
these beers. They were
solid
great.
beer.
This is good. We
Yeah.
will visit this place. They're
I think we should make a Bloomington Normal trip at some point, which I'm totally for, and it's not that far.
no, and
So,
to be perfectly honest with you, you could day trip that.
oh, we
Like
could
you
totally day
could
trip that.
just
Yeah.
leave at like noon and
Yeah.
go and sit and have lunch somewhere and grab a
Yeah.
beer and then
This is
hang
totally
out
day
and have
trippable.
dinner
Yeah.
somewhere and come home. Like
Yep.
this does not have to be a we're gone overnight
No,
even.
this is
My
totally a
husband and I
day
have
trip. Yeah.
gone to I'm drawing a complete blank. What's that other brewery? The one that
Distill?
Distill. Thank you. I knew you would know it.
Mm-hmm.
We have gone there and met friends from Peoria for dinner.
Oh yeah.
Because it's sort of a middle ground. It's closer for them, but
Yeah, but it's still not unreasonable for you to drive. Yeah.
it's not crazy. It's like an hour and a little bit, it's like an
Yeah,
hour and 10 minutes.
it's really not too bad. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I can totally, I
And
mean, like Rockford's an hour and a half. We've day tripped that totally,
yeah,
like, and we could definitely day trip this.
absolutely.
But yeah, I'd be all for that. But this is a solid, both of these beers are solid. I would definitely be interested to see what other offerings they have. I actually think
Hmm.
the English mild is a really good, like, mix for, it's not super heavy like a stout or a
Hmm.
porter, but it's still not an IPA or an ale. Like it's in that in
Right.
between, that it's light enough that you don't feel like, oh my gosh, this is really heavy, but it's got a
Sure.
good kind of different flavor to it. And I'm honestly loving this Fuzzy Little Man Peach one. So I
Yeah.
really, really, really liking these beers. So all right,
Yeah.
good job, White Oak. I'm
Totally.
a fan.
Yeah.
You've got
Totally.
some, even here got some fans out of this. So we will
Yeah,
take
absolutely.
a visit sometime next time we're in the Central Illinois area. I am definitely putting this on my list. So
I agree. That sounds
awesome.
really good. I will definitely go out and find these guys.
Fantastic. I like it.
All right.
All right.
Well, that's another one for you guys. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
Bye. Thanks everyone for listening to the latest musings from Parenting by the Pint.
Be sure to find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to us wherever you find your podcasts.
Have a great week and cheers to you all.